Brothers finally got tired of them getting beat up and the people beating up the black students, and we started fighting back. The other event I remember is that the Klan came over to our community. And they burned the cross in Daisy Bates' yard. We had to go through a lot of stuff. Whenever they got mad at us, they would hang a brother live, and we'd have to walk by to see a brother hung. I went to Chicago. I wanted to party, have a good time, and I was just hanging out. I get a letter in the mail that I've been drafted. So I talk like all the brothers. I'm moving to Canada. I'm a member of the Black Panthers. I believe in the violent overthrow of the United States. I told them I wasn't coming. But what was significant was I still had the dream of going to law school.
Your pops set that up for you, basically?
Well, because she knew him.
He was
she always talked about
somebody
him.
at the time, because we ain't really got into that real quick. So your pops, like you said, when I looked it up, it said he was the first black deputy also.
He was.
And then he became the first black mayor.
That's correct.
Of Little Rock.
Yeah.
So your pops was really like a somebody.
Right.
At the time.
Right, he was. And he's in the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame. I got to take his award for him. So yeah.
What type of work did your moms do at the time?
My mother was a school teacher. She was great too. She did a lot of things. She's the one that brought us up in the church.
Okay.
You know,
so you came up in the church?
Absolutely. Proud of it.
Any siblings, brothers?
My brother is a lawyer in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, this is another amazing thing. Where I believe that there's some spiritual delivery, you know, that sometimes your path is guided. But I had graduated from college, from McMurray College in Jacksonville, Illinois. I went to Chicago. I wanted to party, have a good time. I had majored in political science, and I was just hanging out with the brothers.
Was your brother older or younger? Excuse me for cutting you off.
My brother's older.
Older, okay.
As a matter of fact, he integrated the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. He was the first black student to go there. So he went through that. I was almost able to go to Central High School, which was integrated in '57 with Martin Luther King, Daisy Bates from the state press. But I was scared to go. I didn't want to go to a school with white students. I was scared they're gonna be beating me up. They was fighting every day. They was beating up the black kids. So I stuck with the segregated school with the brothers. You know, they had better opportunities, better education, but I stuck with the brothers. But then in college, it's all white school. But I got a scholarship because they didn't have any fraternities or sororities. So I graduated in '70, went to Chicago, had a major in political science, couldn't get a job. Just hanging out, just partying.
Before the college, you know, your mom was a school teacher and everything, so was you real heavy into the school? And
Not really. When I first got there, you know, I initially believed that they were right, that black kids are dumber than white kids. Because I'm in these classes and the white kids are sleeping. I'm trying to pay attention, study, get down. And I simply didn't understand what was going on. I had to study harder. Because I was taking classes that I found out later on, they offered to them in high school. I didn't get it in high school, so I couldn't sleep. But I found out they wasn't smarter. They were better prepared. And so I got prepared. And so I then understood that I needed to study harder. I needed to be better prepared. My first year, I made C's and D's. My junior year, I was on the dean's list. So, you know, it's a matter of preparation.
so was your college, was it close to Chicago at the time?
Yes.
So you going through during that era where all the gangs and all that's popping up in Chicago?
Absolutely.
So what was that like? You have any peer pressure from that or?
None.
None.
None. I lived on the south side, the Disciples, and I lived on 55th and Woodland, Peace Stone Nation. But I never got into that. It was actually, when I was there in the 70s, it was more black power. It was more together. It was more unity and getting together and doing something, a positive thing. So that was what I went through in Chicago, and it was very peaceful. And I found out that while I was there, I just couldn't do anything. I applied. The only thing I could do was apply for law school. So I wanted to go to law school, and every law school turned me down. Said my grades wasn't good enough, my tests wasn't good enough. And so I get a letter in the mail that I've been drafted. And I don't know whether you can understand being drafted. They drafted you in the Army then. My number was like 277. And I'm saying, how can I be drafted? You know, you only go to 365 days in a year, and I'm 277, and you drafted me. So I talk like all the brothers. I'm moving to Canada. I'm going somewhere. I'm a member of the Black Power. I'm a member of the Black Panthers. I believe in the violent overthrow of the United States. So I told him I wasn't coming. And so my mother called and said, you need to do this for me. Couldn't turn my mother down. This was 1972. 1970. This is still 1970. Because I started the Army October 15, 1970. So I went to be taken in. And so I did what everybody was doing. I took a step backwards. They laughed at me. And then I told them that I was a Black Panther and I believed in the violent overthrow of the United States. They laughed at me again. They said, just come on in. And so I went in. I was in the Army from October 15, 1970 to April of 72 because Nixon was giving all draftees an early out. But what was significant was I still had the dream of going to law school. And so I applied for some law schools, still being turned down, till I got accepted in the St. Louis University.
And what year was this?
This was 1972. How I got into St. Louis University, my brother was in law school and on the admissions committee. So I got in. And then when I got out, I came home to get ready to go to law school, and I got all sorts of benefits to pay for law school from being in the Army. Destiny. Mm-hmm. Then I found out that how I got in the Army, my father was on the draft board. That's how my number.
So he wanted you to go there.
He wanted to get me out of Chicago.
Yeah. If you can kind of get back into your childhood, because like you said, everything was segregated and everything.
Absolutely.
Back then.
We sat in the back of the bus.
So you got any stories that kind of stick out as a child that you had to go through or your parents had to go through?
It was really nothing significant because our parents made us feel comfortable that that's the way it is. This is your life. I imagine it's probably how the slaves felt, that this is my life and I'm dealing with it. There was no desire or indication for change until, the 60s. That's when we don't have to take this. We don't have to be like this. We're not gonna be like our parents. We won't change, and we won't change now. Which is the same thing that happened which actually was the spirit and attitude of the law school students that I was in with during that year. we had made a commitment, be as it may, that we didn't want to be like the white lawyers. We wanted to be different. When we went to events, we said, we're not going to pass out cards. We're going to be known by our works. And we're going to help people out the best we can. So that was the commitment, because we had been blessed with not having to pay tuition, not having to have a place to stay. And so that was our commitment. And so the only thing that I can remember is Central High. We would go up to Central High, and the brothers finally got tired of them getting beat up and the people beating up the black students, and we started fighting back. And that was the most memorable event. The other event I remember is when they burned the cross in Daisy Bates' yard, that the Klan came over to our community. We had to go through a lot of stuff. Whenever they got mad at us, they would hang a brother live, and we'd have to walk by to see a brother hung.